medical records. In speaking to a lot of homicide investigators here in California, they were totally shocked when they found out we couldn't get a hold of the coroner's report up there, and it's because of the wording of the law that they've put in place in the state of Washington that they're considered medical records, which puts them in a whole different class.
All right, Chris, thank you for your call. Good question.
Thank you.
We got an email here from a trucker. It says, have either of you guys, or take the three of you actually, have you been threatened at all?
Yes, we have. Well, I have. Courtney's PI, Jack Palladino, showed up in my backyard several years ago, and he offered to take me out to dinner anywhere I wanted to go. But he made it clear to me that he would make my life miserable unless I backed off. And I told him, Jack, I will not back off because there's a possibility that this man was murdered, Kurt Cobain, and the public deserves to know. And then we went on for 6 hours. He tried to convince me to get off the case. And he threatened me. He said, as long as you keep writing, I'm going to follow you wherever you go.
How about Max?
I've received, especially after the first book came out, or even just before the first book when we were on a lecture tour, both of us started receiving death threats, anonymous death threats on the telephone and that sort of thing. Then just in the last couple of weeks, Courtney's ex-boyfriend, Jim Barber, who was her manager, they seem to be estranged now, but he's been calling and threatening the publisher if anything comes out about me.
Well, he said he's been threatened himself. He said he fears for the safety of his children. In fact, Max, if you recall, when we were doing a lecture tour once, when we returned, my place had been ransacked mysteriously, and the police never discovered any motive. Nothing was missing. Somebody just went through my apartment.
Yeah, well, that's we were pretty sure who that was, but yeah,
and how about
we're expecting that to start up again now that the second book is coming out. I'm sure the threats will start.
Oh yeah, and now that you got the Today Show, Dateline, CNN, Fox News, I mean, this is incredible.
Handelman too. We're breaking it on Allan Handelman tonight.
Well, I appreciate that a lot, and you know I was always proud of those shows and those cutting-edge nights, and it was scary getting those threats. It was scary being told, don't do this, you're going to be sorry.
You got a lot of guts, Alan.
Well, you know, at the time, and I'm glad I did, because as it turned out, there was nothing she could sue me about. We didn't do anything other than interview important newsmakers, and Tommy, you are. Have you been threatened, Tom?
Yeah, I've gotten threatening emails, people telling me they're going to kill me and things like that. I don't think I've gotten too many threatening phone calls. Probably the most intimidating thing that ever happened to me, but people, you know, have learned over a period of time, especially being a former police officer, you just don't easily intimidate someone that's had that experience out in the field. But I had a real tall guy, about 6'5", show up wearing, you know, motorcycle outfit. He was supposed to be a writer for a magazine, and he told me he was coming and everything, and so I let him in, and we sat down and talked. And just in the process, he kept dropping little hints about Courtney having associations with the Mexican mafia and things like that. And the way he stood real close to me when he was leaving and kind of looked down at me and everything. It just, you know, I felt like he was trying to deliberately send me a message, but he also could tell that I wasn't intimidated by it. And it's not that he couldn't have probably picked me up and broken me in half, but it's just I just don't get intimidated.
Yeah.
That's just not part of my personality.
Yeah, I'm really proud of you. You really withstood the test of time. You took the criticism. At the same time, you always came out professional and never came out with a grudge. You didn't look like you had a chip on your shoulder. You just wanted the facts. That's it. And as a former policeman, I think that helps your credibility. This isn't just some crazy PI guy who's, you know, trying to make a name for himself. You have concrete evidence.
Yeah, I actually thought naively that being a former police officer would help my credibility a whole lot more than it did in the beginning. But from the very beginning, before I was even on the radio with you, when I was trying to break this story to the media, I was basically just treated like a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And that surprised me. It was a real education to me what it takes to you know, when you're a whistleblower, basically what happens to you, how you're attacked and how you're come after by people with more money and with more power.
All right, let's take our last call in this segment, and we're going to do a part 2 to this in about 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, let's go to Arthur. You're the last call. Arthur, welcome to the Allan Handelman Show.
Hello. Hi, Alan. I am from Charlotte, and I'm proud to be from Charlotte and home of the Allan Handelman Show. Listen, I was going to ask you, do you may have already answered my question, but to Tom Grant, do you really think, do you think there will be another trial? I'm hoping there will be,
Do you hope
I've always believed from day one that this case will be reopened and reinvestigated. It'll be determined that Kurt Cobain committed or did not commit suicide and that he was in fact murdered. And once that's made clear, I do believe that eventually someone will be arrested and charged with the crime. I don't set time limits. I mean, we just saw this guy Skako, get convicted 25 years after the crime, and for, at least the last 10 years, the police have considered him a number one suspect. So there was a case where even the police felt they knew who committed a murder, and it still took them 10 years to do something about it. So I don't put time limits on anything. I just do things a day at a time and plug away, and everything else will take care of itself.
And there's a different mood now, different time, different attitude, and there's something in the air. This time, I don't think she can ignore it. This time, the media is going to ask her questions, and her behavior is going to be under a microscope.
Yeah, I think she's going to try to ignore it. My own personal opinion is that I think she's going to try to ignore it like she has before. I don't know that she's going to be able to or not, but whatever happens, it's nobody's giving up, nobody's quitting, and I think we stand a pretty good shot here now.
All right, Arthur, thank you for listening to 99.7, our flagship station. And guys, what can I say? Thank you so much for being on the show. We'll be back in 3 weeks, and thank you for breaking this tonight. This is really interesting, and at the same time, it's compelling, because now I think she's going to have to say something.